Hi all, welcome back to Devworld. This is the fifth part of Docker administration series. Whenever we install Docker on servers, Docker public repository is enabled. So when we run Docker pull or Docker search command, it will directly go to the Docker public repository and will fetch the Docker container images. But it is not an idea to fetch the container images from public repository if you are using Docker in an organization. For the best practice, you should have a Docker private registry or repository. Docker registry or repository is a place where your container images are stored. A private registry has many advantages compared to Docker Hub. Some of them are: we will get total control of our registry and repositories. Since the Docker registry is isolated on premises, therefore it increases availability and speed. Private registry are secure, especially if we handle enterprise applications. Organizations' private images are kept within the organization. We don't want to pay some crazy plans to cloud providers to host our repositories. In this tutorial, I will demonstrate how to set up a Docker private registry using Linux. If you check the architecture diagram, I will be using three RHEL 8 servers. The top one is Docker private registry server. It includes two containers. One is Docker registry and another one is Nginx container. As you are aware, Nginx is a web server which can also be used as a reverse proxy, load balancer, mail proxy and HTTP cache. Here we are using Nginx container for two purposes. The first is that Nginx acts as a reverse proxy in front of Docker registry container. Here Nginx takes the client request and transfers it to Docker private registry and vice versa. Next one is Nginx will act as a HTTP basic authentication server with the help of HTTPasswd. The HTTP authentication method allows you to restrict access to areas of your website by managing your own username and passwords. Docker Node 1 will act as Docker image build server. Here, Docker admins or developers will create their own container images. Then they will upload these images to their own Docker private registry server with the Docker push command. Docker Node 2 will download Docker container images from private registry server with the Docker pull command. As discussed earlier, we are using three RHEL 8 servers: registry, Node 1 and Node 2. Docker is already installed on these three servers and its service is up and running. These servers should be in the same subnet and the port 80 of private registry server should be open. If you don't have an active DNS server, use /etc host file to map the host name to IP address. Go to the private registry server and check the IP address using the command host-I awk print $1. To add an entry to the host file, simply open the file in your text editor and type private registry IP and domain name. Here I am using registry.linuxwiki.in and my host name of registry server. Save and exit the file. Update the host file in the same way on the remaining two servers. Then disable the SC Linux on all the three servers. Open the file /etc sysconfig sc linux and change the lane SC Linux is equal to disabled. Reboot all the server after SC Linux is disabled. Now our servers are back and the SC Linux is disabled. It's the time for setup registry container. From the Docker Registry host machine, pull the registry container image. Type Docker pull registry. This will download the latest version of Docker Registry container image. Create a directory /data registry on Docker host. We will mount this directory into registry container directory /var lib registry, which holds all data pertains to our private Docker registry. By detaching this directory from registry container, we can easily reuse it with other containers derived from registry image. Therefore, if we remove our container, it won't destroy the data within our private Docker registry. Now start the registry container. Use the command docker run -d-p 5000:5000 -v /data registry /var lib registry --restart always --name registry and registry. If you want to use this registry container as part of your permanent infrastructure, you should set it to restart automatically whenever Docker restarts. That's why we are using the option --restart always. Use the command docker ps and see the registry container is started with the name registry and expose the port 5000. From the Docker Registry host machine, pull the Nginx container image. Type docker pull Nginx. This will download the latest version of Nginx image. Start the container. Use the command docker run -d -name proxy -p 80:80 -restart always Nginx. This will start the Nginx container with the name proxy and expose the port 80. Open a new file nginx.conf from Docker Registry host server. I am adding some parameters into this file for configuring reverse proxy. First parameter is worker connections. We have to set this parameter for adding the maximum number of simultaneous connections that can be opened by a worker process. Then we have added error log and access log parameters and log location. Next, we have added upstream block, which is used to define a pool of servers. This configuration assumes that any one of the listed servers is capable of handling a client's request. In the server portion, we need to change the IP of Docker Registry container and its port. We will get the registry container IP from docker inspect command. Next, we have added the server directory. Instead of virtual host in Apache, Nginx is using server blocks that use the server name and listen directives to bind to TCP sockets. Add listen 80 for listening the port 80, then server name. Here we need to change the host name of Docker Registry server. I am changing this as registry.linuxwiki.in. Next is client max body size. It is an allowed size of the client request body. By default, Nginx has limit of 1 MB on file uploads. Here we have changed client max body size as 1 GB. Next one is proxy pass parameter under the location block. Here we can set the protocol and address of a proxied server and an optional URI to which a location should be mapped. Here we have mapped http:// This registry URL we already defined under the upstream block as registry server IP :5000. Therefore, when any request is made to registry.linuxwiki.in, Nginx will be redirected this request to the registry container port 5000. Save and exit the file nginx.conf. As said earlier, we are going to configure basic authentication on Nginx container. In order to create the file that will store the passwords needed to access our restricted content, we will use a utility called htpasswd. This is found in the Apache utils package within the Ubuntu repositories. Since our Nginx container is Ubuntu, we have to install the package Apache 2 utils to access the htpasswd command. First, update the local packages inside the Nginx container. Type Docker exec proxy apt-get update. To install Apache 2 utils package inside the Nginx container, type Docker exec proxy apt-get install Apache 2 utils -yq. We now have access to the htpasswd command. We can use this command to create a password file that Docker Registry can use to authenticate users. We will create a file for this purpose called htpasswd within our /etc nginx configuration directory inside the Nginx container. Type Docker exec proxy htpasswd -c -b /etc nginx htpasswd username and password. The first time we use this utility, we need to add -c option to create the specified file. We are using -b option to get the password from the command line rather than prompting for it. We specify a username and password at the end of the command. This command will create a new entry within /etc nginx htpasswd and the password will be encrypted format. Open the file nginx.conf inside the Docker host and add the basic authentication parameters under the location directive. Type auth basic restricted and type auth basic user file /etc nginx /htpasswd. Save and exit the file nginx.conf. Copy the file nginx.conf as /etc nginx.conf inside the proxy container. Type docker cp nginx.conf proxy /etc nginx.conf. Validate the Nginx configuration using nginx-t. You could see the message test is successful. Then restart the Nginx. Type docker exec proxy /etc init.d nginx restart. By default, Docker uses HTTPS to connect to Docker Registry. But there can be use cases to use an insecure registry, especially if you are on a trusted network. This eliminates the need for a CA signed certificate for internal use or to trust self-signed certificate in all Docker nodes. For this, you have to add the parameter insecure-registries in your Docker daemon.json file on both node 1 and node 2 server. Type vim/etc docker daemon.json and add insecure-registries registry.linuxwiki.in. Then restart the Docker service. Download a sample image from Docker Registry. Here I am downloading Hello World. Then change the tag of this sample image. Type docker tag hello world registry.linuxwiki.in/test:v1. Here registry.linuxwiki.in is the private registry URL. If you are having any doubts to change the image tag, please check out the video Docker Administration Part 3. The URL is available on the description box. If you want to push this image to Docker private registry, we have to log in first. So you would type docker login registry.linuxwiki.in and pass the credentials which we created through htpasswd command. You will get the message login succeeded. Now type docker push registry.linuxwiki.in/test:v1 to push the image to our private registry. As discussed earlier, the directory /varlib registry is holding the data of registry container. We mounted this data directory as /data registry on the Docker host. In order to confirm whether the image is pushed to Docker registry, go to the Docker host and check the repository directory inside the /data registry. You could see the test image is available with the proper tag. Go to the Docker node 2 and log in into registry.linuxwiki.in. To pull the image, type docker pull registry.linuxwiki.in/test:v1. Check and verify that the image is available. I hope you can now create your own Docker private registry. If you have any questions or queries, please write it on comment box. In addition, the Linuxwiki URL of the Docker private registry setup is provided in the description box. If you have any doubts about the Nginx configuration parameters or commands, you can look it up. See you soon with the part 6. Until next time, goodbye.